Hello, boys and girls. Lord Hawkeye here again. Yeah, I know it's been quite a while, and yeah, I did say I wasn't going to do political videos anymore, and and ordinarily I wouldn't, but when Sargon of Akkad did his response to the questions for status video, uh, some parts of that just got on my grill so bad that I had to put in my 2 cents. I know it's been a while, but I always like to ponder on things for a while before I respond to it. I think it's more productive that way. Yeah. Anyway, so the reason why I haven't done a lot of politics videos these days is because, well, I'll be blunt about it. Statists are the most boring people in existence to debate. I'm I'm sorry, they just are, because there's no change. Nothing ever changes. It's the same arguments every single time with absolutely no variation whatsoever. I mean, it was pretty apparent when you saw Sargon's response to this. I mean, the guy's pretty smart, and what does he do? His entire video is just a reading of the big book of status cliches, word for word. Like, not a spark of creativity or a new thought into it. None. But it does serve as a nice platform for what I'm going to discuss here. I'm not going to bore you all with a full blow by blow. I think that's just going to put everyone to sleep. So I'm just going to respond to the main points brought up in the video and reach some conclusions of my own along the way. Like, first of all, he very heavily, like many times in the video, he references the social contract to back his arguments up. And this brings up one of my first problems with status is that Sargon of Akkad is a very smart guy. I don't deny that. He has done a lot of great work. I love a lot of his videos. And the thing about him is every one of his videos is very heavily sourced. He provides facts. He provides sources. He backs up his claims, all this sort of thing. Very well detailed, very well presented. And in this one, he is resorting to an argument that is so overdone, so cliched, and so completely vacant. And if you look at his video, no sources cited, nothing. Absolutely nothing. The entire video is just bald assertion after bald assertion after bald assertion. I mean, you see this a lot, like when Thunderfoot took a shot at Stefan Molyneux. Again, Thunderfoot, very smart guy, very scientific, very known for backing his claims up. This one, no backing to it. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And that alone is pretty telling, I have to say. So anyway, getting to the arguments. The social contract. Oh my god. I mean, this argument is so overdone. Every single anarchist, libertarian, or what have you has already made a video debunking it. I've done it. Shane Killian's done it. Stefan Molyneux's done it. That guy T has done it. Everyone's done it. And I mean, the fact that is Sargon not aware of this? The fact that he's not aware of this tells me he has made no effort whatsoever to actually read any libertarian content. None. He's basing this all off hearsay he heard from other people. That's the only conclusion I can possibly reach from this. So already, that's pretty sloppy on his part, I have to say, given he's somebody who normally has very good standards. Look, people, there is no social contract. You people just made it up as a way to avoid making arguments. If you want to dispute this, you need to A, demonstrate that the social contract exists, and B, you must demonstrate that it is legal according to your government's own laws. You cannot defend statism with an argument that the state itself does not accept. I mean, this is a rule that statists should follow when they make their arguments. Before you ever make an argument defending statism, you need to ask yourself, would this argument ever fly in a court of law? If you cannot say with confidence the answer to that question is yes, then I would suggest you rethink making that argument. There's your first piece of advice for today. Next, he says that government does things better, like does courts, military, and stuff like that better because unlike the free market, the government is accountable. What's really ridiculous about that argument is that Sargon himself knows it's not true. He absolutely knows it is. What do I mean by that? Well, Sargon of Akkad has covered the cover-up of the rape gangs in Britain, which was absolutely heartrending to read about, I have to say. Now, Sargon, your government, for multiple years, so you can't claim this is an isolated incident, for several years, covered up rape gangs because they were afraid of being called the dreaded R word. They were putting people, your people, at risk in order to maintain their own image. Now, you have to ask yourself, how many people had to be in on that? How many people kept quiet? How many people defended the ones who were the ones responsible for this? This is not a few bad apples. This is 100% top to bottom corruption. And it's been going on for years and still goes on today because last I checked, there is not a single man in prison for this. Because last I checked, helping someone to cover up a crime makes you just as guilty as though you had done it yourself. That's called being an accomplice. So, your government covers up something as horrendous as this, and nobody is in any kind of trouble for it. Nobody's fired. Nobody's in jail. Nobody's demoted. Nobody's reprimanded. Nobody is even named. And you're going to sit there and tell me the government is accountable? This is what makes status so frustrating, is that they don't think. They just repeat. The government says they're accountable, therefore they are. That's all it takes to convince you. And Sargon, if you're going to continue thinking like that, you are putting yourself and your loved ones at risk, and you are doing them a disservice by repeating instead of thinking. This is serious. And there's the... And here's the other thing to consider for you, if that's not convincing enough for you, although I think it should be. The social justice warriors. Sargon, you and other people have rallied against them as a dangerous and toxic ideology. Absolutely in full agreement here. I believe they are. But now ask yourself, your government, have they been... Yeah, that's the other thing. He claims that government reflects the will of the people. Really now? Well, let's put two claims together, shall we? So, government reflects the will of the people. Now, in the war with social justice warriors, which side has your government taken for the most part? Have they defended you against social justice warriors and their vicious attacks? Or have they sided with the social justice warriors and helped and been completely enabling them along the way? Yeah. So the government has been siding with the social justice warriors, which can mean one of two things. Either A, the majority of that social justice warriors are the will of the people, and if you don't like it, Sargon, then you're the one who should have to move away if you don't like it. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, if a social justice warrior said, well, social justice warriors is being done by the government, therefore it must be the will of the people, so if you don't like it, then you should move away. Tell me, on a scale of 1 to 10, how convincing would you consider that? Yeah. So if you wouldn't accept that argument yourself, don't use it. That goes out not just to Sargon, but to all statists who continue making this argument. Now, or the other possibility is, maybe it turns out government doesn't reflect the will of the people. Maybe they're just a bunch of people looking for power, and social justice warriors are the best way, are a convenient excuse to do it. You know, which one do you consider more credible? Next, he says that private armies would be bad because they'd be driven by profit, and that's horrible. This is just another statist talking point that is just a bold-faced admission that I don't think, I just repeat. Like, think about this. Does this even make any sense? You're saying that government agencies are not driven by profit and that makes them better. What? Are you saying that people who work for the government work for free? Well, sorry, no, that's not true. So, if you believe that, then you have no idea how government works, so you probably shouldn't be lecturing us about it. But what exactly does this mean? That they get paid, but they're not in it for the pay? How do you know that? Like everyone in government? None of them? All of them? How would you even know that? You're claiming to read people's minds. You have no basis on which to argue that. So it's not even internally consistent. It makes no sense. So, and plus, why is it bad? Why is it bad to be in it for profit? Yes, people who make this argument. You're just saying as I watched the movie Elysium and thought it was a documentary. Yeah, I'm sorry, people, but I'm sorry, people, but profit is evil. A bunch of rich guys in Hollywood and the White House said it. It must be true. If that's really the best you can do, you need to just stay out of this debate because you don't know how to think. You just repeat. And then came this comment that this is what got Shane Killian really going, and honestly, I don't blame him for it. Is he implies that libertarians are the reason why the U.S. has all the problems it does. Okay, so libertarians argue for smaller government or possibly none, depending on how they lean. And the U.S. is the largest and most powerful government history has ever seen. Therefore, it's the people calling for less government who are the problem. Did you spend any time thinking on this? Clearly, I would say most assuredly you didn't. That makes no sense. And plus, doesn't he multiple times say, "Oh, they're just a cult. They're just a little ragtag group that's never going to amount to anything." So they're never going to amount to anything, yet they're the cause of all the U.S.'s problems. What's really apparent in this video is the amount of brainwashing on display here. The way Sargon can just contradict himself sentence to sentence and not even realize it. Like when he blames us for problems, he calls us naive, he calls us cultists or whatever, and then says he's not trying to be a dick. Well, you sure could have fooled me, buddy. Gotta say. And then there's the cult accusations. And of course, they never define the word cult because I've repeatedly challenged statists. Can you define cult in a way that could not apply to statism? Like, Sargon, this is what a cult is. A cult teaches you that you're flawed, that you have problems, you have some kind of problem that you cannot fix, and you must defer to a higher authority in order to fix it or mend it. And they all have this kind of original sin sort of argument. Feminism has got the patriarchy. Religion has got original sin, and the race pimps. They've all got white privilege and all this sort of thing. You're born with this problem, and you must defer to us in order to fix it. Well, let's see. Where in anarchism or libertarianism do we claim that? Libertarianism claims you don't need to defer to a higher authority. Even if you are perfectly capable of running your own life. You don't need governments. You don't need leaders. You don't need kings. You don't need gods. How is that cult-like? If anything, that's the absolute opposite of a cult. Oh, but statism, they've got their own original sin called the social contract. You're born with the privilege of having a state, therefore you must pay and 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 pay. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. What irritates me about Sargon's video is that this is a guy who ought to know. This is a guy who completely ought to know better, and yet it's just repeating the same old arguments. I mean, every time I see these statist arguments, I always hope, please let it be something new. Please give me something to actually think about. Please don't be just the same old cliches. And I was kind of hoping Sargon might bring something new to the table. I mean, I knew it was a fool's hope, but I'm always hoping, please don't be the same old thing. And it is 40 minutes of the same old nonsense I've heard a million times as though it were the first time it's ever been said. It's just painful to listen to. So this is why I got two messages for the status. Status, one, you need to put up or shut up. Enough with the same old nonsense. Before you ever make an argument, here's two rules that I think we can both agree on. First one, governments are people. So, any statement you make about humanity must apply equally to the state. You can't say people are evil, therefore we need government, or people are dumb, therefore we need government. Because if people are any of those things, then the government will be too, because the government are just people. In fact, I've told people, take your argument and replace the word government with people. Does it still make sense? If it doesn't, then you need to rethink it. So that's the first one. The second one is that moral principles must be consistent. You can't say it's moral when he does it, or but it's immoral when he does it, and so on and so forth. I mean, you've seen how frustrating it is when feminists preach moral virtues but then exempt people from their own camp from it for completely arbitrary reasons. You know how frustrating that is. Well, guess what? It's just as frustrating when you do it with us. When you say, "Oh, stealing is I support government because otherwise people are going to rob us," and when it's pointed out that when the government robs you way worse, out come the excuses. I mean, this is the part that really angered me, is that Sargon says, we need the government because there's people with guns out there. They're all going to kill us if the government doesn't protect us, and then. So you're so concerned about violence. And yet when the issue of war is brought up, what does this moral hero do? Out come the excuses. Oh, well, you can vote. Well, that makes it okay. Unbelievable. This kind of selective moral outrage really pisses me off. I mean, in the other big example, the one that also ticked me off, is that people say, "Oh, the rich people are going to exploit us if we don't have government. We gotta have them. There's people waiting to exploit us all over the place." And then when it's brought up that government's deficit spend, which is nothing more than running up bills and dumping them on the next generation, it's the absolute example of exploitation. Exploitation of people who are completely unable to defend themselves. I mean, at least adults can have ways of protecting themselves from exploitation. I mean, you can cry about wage slavery all you want, but an adult can renegotiate or change jobs. Children, they can't. They're completely helpless and dependent. So when it's brought up that government exploits children, well, again, out come the excuses. He makes no effort whatsoever to morally condemn this. So that's what you say you need to do. 1, you need to learn to keep your arguments consistent, and 2, stop with the selective moral outrage. You hate it when feminists do it, you hate it when social justice warriors do it. Make sure you don't do it yourself. Otherwise, then you're just virtue signaling. I'm sorry. And the other thing that message I have for Status is, you call us naive, you call us dumb, you call us utopian and all these other nonsense. You know what is dumb? You know what is utopian? You know what is painfully naive? It's people who don't understand who their friends and who their enemies are. As I brought up before, you have rallied against the social justice warriors and all these terrible abuses, and believe me, Sargon, you absolutely have my support on that. But you need to ask yourself, ultimately you're fighting a war for free speech. Ultimately, this is a war on free speech. Those who hate free speech and those who think free speech is absolutely essential. And on that front, we are brothers in that. Don't make no mistake. Well, in the war on free speech, you just need to ask yourself, which side has your government been on? Have they been defending you from social justice warriors? Have they been stepping in and saying, "No, you can't. No, social justice warriors, you can't quell free speech. It's absolutely essential. It doesn't matter whether it's hurting your feelings or not. There's more important things at stake here than your feelings." Have your governments at any point ever done that? No, they have not. Every step of the way, they have completely sided against you in the war on free speech. So think about that next time think about that and just ask yourself, why are you still loyal to them? How much loyalty have they ever shown you? As it's often been said, when it comes to loyalty, when it comes to empathy, never give more than you receive. So, how much empathy have you gotten from the state? How much loyalty have you ever gotten from the state? And just ask yourself, what do I owe them? What do you owe them? Just something to think about, and I hope you will. Yeah. Until next time, be aware and be wise.